Okay, let's do the bridge. So the speed has really picked up here, Bob.
Yeah.
We've got Charlotte pitchforks Graciela to death just as Graciela was getting interesting. That'll probably have consequences, probably while Caesar's out with his wife at home or wife with a movie pretending it never happened.
Mm, yeah.
Marco and Sonia, that they figure out that Tate's is going after Marco's family, so they deal with that. Gus figures out he hasn't actually been talking to Xena, and of course Tate tricks Alma into grabbing onto a live grenade. Oh, but don't forget Tate smashing into Sonia's car and kidnapping Gus after everything too.
Right. Yeah, this is coming out as Fast and Furious after so many episodes of what the fuck is going on in this show. It's kind of
Yeah.
a little schizo in my book in terms of the pacing and the way that this show is put together, but it's still enjoyable. It's just, man, wow, that's kind of a different approach.
Yeah. So what did you think about the grenade culmination? Tate taking Alma and the kids there and handing her a grenade and the tension that ensued.
I liked the journey, but I'm still scratching my head in terms of what it's all about and why. Like he has a plan. He's a brilliant mastermind. He's one step ahead of everyone, but the show purposely puts us one step behind him or in the dark so that we're just left wondering why this is such a masterful plan, but assuming it is because everyone else is falling over themselves, staying on top of him. Does that make sense?
Yeah, as soon as I saw that car crash, it made me think, okay, let me put on my criminal mastermind hat here a little bit. And I would totally have understood, coming from my criminal mastermind point of view, him crashing into a car and killing Alma is sort of poetic, uh, an analogy to the way his wife died. Um, but he's going so above and beyond that as far as his brutality and just the intensity here that even my ability to think to the head of a criminal mastermind is not making sense. I really don't get what he's going for.
Yeah, and for being a criminal mastermind who has been working through this plan for years, theoretically, there were so many perfectly played out things that don't add up. Like, for instance, for him to even go after Marco's wife, and by go after I mean make her fall in love with him, that presupposes that somehow he knew that Marco was going to sleep with Charlotte just in the right time so that the order of operations would be such that he could do it in the right order with all of his other masterful killings. And there's just so much here that as you start to dissect it and peel back the layers of the onion, it's like he's like a god if this is all planned out. There's just so much luck involved too many times in a row. That's my criticism.
Yeah, no, well, Alyssa Rosenberg, a TV critic, had an amazing piece this week about how the bridge and the newsroom actually seem to share this problem in a way.
Ah,
A crazy mastermind that is so unexpected that he manages to absolve the characters we love of having to deal with their own weaknesses. In the newsroom, I totally see what she's talking about too. I've definitely criticized the newsroom for how the guy with the former newsroom intern for his son was so conniving that we can blame him and Jerry, of course, for everything
right.
that went wrong, and our heroes don't have to look at themselves for how they contributed to the mess. But the bridge with this episode is getting so out there with Tate that the same thing is happening to an extent. So Marco is probably, in my mind, the most intriguing character in this show. He's someone who has strong principles in his professional life, but he's in a corrupt organization. But at the same time, he's selfish and unprincipled in his personal life. Well, I mean, to some extent, he doesn't have a problem sleeping around, or it's a weakness or something. But it's interesting that someone so principled in one can be so weak in the other. And it could be a study of how he grows a little and deals with the consequences of his actions and faces his bad behavior as someone who takes pride being a good cop. But the randomness of Tate is this evil mastermind who is godlike, as you put it. It lets him off the hook. There's no way someone could be responsible for someone going so crazy as Tate has. And so we don't have to consider what blame to put on Marco. And instead we just look at Tate as being nuts.
Yeah, and now all of a sudden it's just like a showdown, a chase sequence of what's Tate going to do next, and how is this going to reveal further his character and his plan. Um, but this whole grenade thing, I was fascinated by it when it happened, but
Yeah, I
then
was
what?
too.
Like, Marco saves his wife, and happily ever after, temporarily, Tate's still out there. Um, and then Sonia is the one with Gus, and the episode ends with all of a sudden that's the play, that's the big play, or like I'm just waiting for the grand reveal of why this order of what's so brilliant about what Tate is doing. I'm not seeing it, and that's driving me nuts. But I'm hoping it all adds up and it's brilliant.
Yeah, me too. Just one. How many steps ahead is this guy thinking? Crazy.
Yeah, right. This is like grandmaster chess level, which crazy people who have their wife and kid killed don't normally study up and become grandmasters or whatever.
Right. So yeah, it's acted like it was going to become one show, but now all the interesting things about that, the politics, Graciela for one, and
Right.
their transmitters. What is that? Just chopped off now as a plot? And we've
Yeah.
got this crazy mastermind Tate, who we didn't even know about for a couple episodes.
Right, and Tate is as the crazy mastermind is sort of stealing the thunder of all these other storylines because we've got Marble Mouth. What was his name? The guy who
Ray?
talks like the guy who talks
Oh,
like
Stephen
this.
Linder.
Yes,
Linder.
Stephen Linder. He's got his own issues and demons to face. Graciela dying and Charlotte getting more involved. These are only loosely connected. And then, if you noticed in this past episode, we had nothing about our journalist friends. There's all these side stories which are actually now I'm missing or I'm more fascinated by because the front runner in terms of attention grabbing time of the show is all about Tate and the mastermind, and I'm losing interest because I'm more interested in the things that I'm not seeing any screen time for.
Yeah, I wonder if they're being too true to the Danish show that this was based on or something like that, and the new show they were trying to make because the Mexican-U.S. border is a lot different than the Denmark-Sweden border, and so they're having a hard time synthesize maybe. I don't know. I was really glad you mentioned Stephen Linder, though. What he's doing on the show is still kind of a mystery to me. But
Right.
I find myself drawn in by him. He's torn up about killing Kalaka, even though it wasn't self-defense. And now he's in love with Kalaka's girlfriend, but that's obviously complicated.
Right.
He only barely fits into society. He gets hungry after killing people. I don't know how he fits in, but I'm liking getting to know him bit by bit here.
Yeah, me too. I'm ready to go back to some of these subplots and just have the Tate thing. Just show me the brilliance, wrap it up. I don't know. Tell me how this comes together.
And then one other thing, I look forward to these every episode. A classic Sonia Marco moment. And this one, Marco was right in the middle of it, and Sonia's just like, "Is it hard to sleep next to the same person every night?" It's like, "Not now, Sonia. I'm trying to find my kids." And then later, it's just like, "Why can't you just tell people what you want to hear? I want to hear my family's going to be okay. I really need to hear that right now."
And then, like 2 minutes later, he does hear it
from Hank.
From Hank, like,
we're going to catch this guy.
Yeah, that was awesome.
But the nuances of closeness and exasperation in that relationship between Marco and Sonia, that's still one of the best things about the show, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I like that.
So, anything else you want to mention? Final thoughts, Bob?
I don't know how many episodes we have left. I'm intrigued.
3 more.
I want to see how it wraps up, but I'm hoping it has a good payoff because the journey is starting to wear me out a little. But we're sticking with it.
Fair enough. I mentioned last week that I had my eye on the bridge to see how it sticks the landing before I give it a final grade, and this wasn't really the step in the right direction I was hoping for. By taking a sharp left turn into the adrenaline-pounding arena, it's risking giving up the quirkiness and richness that drew me in at first. So it's got 3 episodes to turn it around, and we will see.
Yeah.